we welcome all to the first session with Mr. Shrinivas Dempo, President, All India Management Association and Chairman, Dempo Group of Companies as the speaker, and Mr. TVS Shenoy, President, Calcutta Management Association and Chief Commercial Officer, Tata Steel as the session chair. I would now request the student panelists to please take their seats on the stage. Before I hand over the proceedings to Mr. TVS Shenoy, a few words about him. Mr. TVS Shenoy joined Tata Steel from the campus in 1992 and has worked in various SBUs of Tata Steel. Few divisions include mines, tubes, agrico and retail. He is currently the Chief Commercial Officer, Long Products. He has over 2.5 decades of experience in operations and sales and has worked at different locations across the country. Mr. Shenoy is the current president of the Calcutta Management Association. With these few words, I now hand over the proceedings to Mr. TVS Shenoy with a request to introduce Mr. Shrinivas Dempo and take the program forward.
Thank you. Good morning again, and I'll not do the sound test again with all of you. First of all, big welcome to Mr. Dempo, and I must tell you, as a child, when I grew up on the west coast of Karnataka, Dempo was a big name. And little did I know that few decades down the line, I'll have an opportunity to sit beside you, Mr. Dempo, and actually have a session with you. But let me introduce Mr. Dempo to each one of you. Mr. Dempo is the chairman of the Goa-based Dempo Group of Companies, which has diversified interests in industries such as calcine, petroleum, coke, shipbuilding, food processing, real estate, and newspaper publishing. Mr. Dempo is the president of the All India Management Association. He has been the chairman of the Western region of the largest industrial lobby in India, the CII. In 2013, Mr. Dempo was named Honorary Vice Consul of Italy in Goa in India. He was appointed chairman of Automobile Corporation of Goa Limited, a Tata Group company. Mr. Dempo has a long association with football. He was passionately describing yesterday how he is honing a young talent of almost 30+ youngsters in Goa. He's also been named the 50 most influential people in Indian sports in 2010. He continues the multi-generation engagement. This is the 4th generation, if I'm not mistaken, with the Goan Society, which covers institutes and programs of higher education, cultural enrichment, environmental conservation, sporting excellence, and affirmative action under the Dempo charities. He did his graduation from the University of Mumbai in 1990 and 92. Later on took on Master of Science degree in Industrial Administration and Finance from Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the US in 1995. And in 2019, he was elected as a member of the Board of Trustees. In 2020, he received the Tepper Achievement Award in recognition of his influential role of chairman and managing director of the Dempo Group and in professional associations and civic organization in India. Over to you, Mr. Dempo, as we hear you speak and address the audience. Thank you very much.
Again, a very good morning to my young friends from Calcutta. Thank you, Mr. Shenoy, for that very kind introduction. I'll try and live up to whatever you've said and try my level best. It's great to be in Kolkata. People in Kolkata know my family more for football than business, because we have been traditional rivals to teams such as Mohun Bagan and East Bengal. I remember, a game where we were in the semi-finals versus Mohun Bagan, and there were 100,000 people in the stadium, and I was sitting in the glass enclosure with all the VVIPs, and there was a referee who gave a wrong judgment, which I must admit, which was in favor of Dempos. The Bengalis were so upset that they couldn't, they are so passionate about football. So finally what happened is, 2 minutes before the final whistle, all the organizers told me, you please leave the stadium before because otherwise they're going to create so much of a problem for you because there was a wrong decision given. So that's how I believe, Bengalis are so passionate about football, and it's great to come back here. It's great to talk to young minds. When I talk to young minds, my energy level goes up. And I think, you are so fortunate to be born in current India. I wish I was born 20 years later to be sitting here amongst you all, because the kind of opportunities the country is affording right now is just phenomenal. Be it in professional development, be it in business, be it in entrepreneurship, every single segment, I think you are 3 times as much as fortunate than Mr. Shenoy and me. And, I thank the IIM Calcutta for hosting this. I get greetings from AIMA for all of you. Thank the Calcutta Management Association because they are doing such a wonderful job to promote management excellence. And the best way to promote management excellence is to talk to young minds like you. It's great to be part of the Shaping Young Minds program. I'm not trying to shape your mind. I'm not that big. But what I intend doing in the next 20-25 minutes is to share my story. So storytelling is extremely important. I don't know how many of you all heard storytelling from your grandparents. India is very famous. When you were very young, while you were sleeping, either your grandmother or your grandfather or your parents told you stories. And those get deeply etched into your minds. That has been the legacy of India. That has been the strength of India. And that has really taken the nation far and wide because, the kind of cultural legacy we have, the kind of heritage we have, in storytelling, it goes to the younger generation. And then you believe in the same ethos and values. As I stand before you, I see so many entrepreneurs in the making in this auditorium because most of you all are management students or all of you all are management students. I see so many top CEOs of the future. I see so many top professionals of the future. So in terms of talent and potential, you have immense opportunities. So how do you unleash that? That is more important. And from storytelling of people like us, and you have brilliant speakers after me who have created businesses which are vibrant, which are thriving, which are sustainable, and who have led large companies who must have faced so many challenges as they were traversing the path. I'm glad you took management as a profession because India needs more people in management. As we get stronger and bigger, the kind of people that we need to manage enterprises is even more a greater opportunity for people like you as you unfold your journey. Friends, my journey also became like a blank canvas. Fortunately, I was born in a business family. Mr. Shenoy, I come from the 3rd generation. And 3rd generation is normally a big challenge because I don't know whether you know the famous saying that the 1st generation creates it, the 2nd generation runs it, and the 3rd generation destroys it. But I am 54 and I am, fortunate enough to still run my group of companies. The business was started by my grandfather way back in the early 40s. And, it's been now almost 60 years for the group, that the group has been doing its service to the nation, to the state, and we passionately believe in giving back to society. That's one lesson that all of you all should carry home, is never ever do anything with the primary focus of making money. Money is a side effect. Money will come so long as you work hard with your profession and are sincere to your profession, but have a purpose in life. So just like each of you, I was born into this world with limitless potential. All of us have kids. We are very creative. We have limitless potential. And as a child, I dreamt big dreams. It's great to dream. There's nothing wrong in dreaming, so long as you work hard towards your dreams. And I imagined a future that held the promise of endless possibilities. So this is, as a child, you were always focused, though you were very much influenced by your parents. And I think we are blessed in India to have the family set of values which really take you forward, and you sets you a Lakshman Rekha. You know your limitations, you know where you can reach up to. And one thing that stands India apart from all over the world is your ethos and values, respect for elders, respect for teachers, professors. I think this goes a long way in basically pursuing what you want to do with solid foundations that you have built. One of the most significant lessons I've learned is the power of passion. Do what really interests you. Or I can say, do what you like, and once you do what you like what you do. It's very, very important to do that. I was pushed into the family business, and I was pushed in rather difficult circumstances because I just got back from my MBA from America. And as I got back from my MBA, I probably wanted to work a few years outside of my own organization just to get a feel of how it's to work without your family business. But as luck would have it, I was not fortunate enough to work with my father for a very long time. He was detected of cancer. And when I was 27 years of age, he passed away. So I had to really take over businesses in very, very difficult circumstances. Manage 5 businesses, which were very, very family-centric. And I'll explain to you how I changed that situation. And I have 2 daughters. I don't expect them to join me. If they want to join me, they're more than welcome. But there's no compulsion in joining me because we've now formed a structure within the group, whereas the companies can run without family members, and that's very important. But I was not fortunate enough to have that privilege, to have that pleasure, because families, the family ran the businesses that time. Of course, there were people there for execution, but basic decision making, started with the family and ended with the family. So these were very, very trying possibilities or trying circumstances for me. But one thing that led me to all this journey is the power of passion. And I pursued what I loved rather than what was expected of me. Don't pay too much attention to what the society says. This is one more block we have in India. We are too much society conscious, And when we say, failure is not accepted, I don't know what's wrong with failure. I failed. Out of the 5 businesses that we had 8 businesses and we failed in 3 businesses. So we closed them down. So you have to be honest enough to yourself, learn from the failures and get up again in the straddle. It's no point in saying, but I see a lot of your generation, your patient quotient is very low. You want things to happen at too fast a pace. And taking failure in your stride becomes very, very difficult. So passion really fueled my persistence and drove me to excel even in the face of obstacles that I just talked about. The one thing that you must overcome is fear. And fear can, it is a powerful force, often holding us back from realizing our full potential. Now, when I say fear, of course, you have to be cautious in life in what you do. There are always boundaries that, you define yourselves in. But within those boundaries, you must muster the courage to try what you firmly believe you can. So I'm connecting passion, potential, and fear. So once you realize your passion and you realize your potential, you have to try and overcome fear. Most of the big people who have achieved it big, whether it's a Jamshedji Tata or a Dhirubhai Ambani, I don't know whether you know their stories. The only thing which stood them is courage and fear. They overcome fear. Dhirubhai Ambani was a petrol pump attendant in Aden when he dreamt big, and you see today all of you are with geophones. And I remember the famous saying of Mukesh Ambani when he went to present to Dhirubhai about Reliance Telecom. And that time, I believe Mr. Mukesh Ambani asked for 500 crores. And he said, what are you going to price a call at? So he said that the price of the call is going to be whatever, 10 rupees or 12 rupees. He says, Mukesh, from 500, I'll give you 1,000 crores. But I want the price of the call to be the price of the postage stamp that is paid by the people of India. So see, what I'm trying to say is once you overcome fear and you dream big and try your hard work in embracing that, I think you can produce magic, and we've seen that. The other thing you have to constantly do is embrace change. None of us like change. We suddenly get into some change mode and then you are uncomfortable. He says, this is not what I'm used to. But I think change is a constant companion in our lives. And I had to change. I told you that, I entered a family business which was large family driven. I had very senior executives who were 30 years older to me. So it was tough to manage them because they had seen me as a kid coming to office for once a year for pujas and for celebrations, but never could accept me as a boss. So I tried my best to embrace change. I tried my best to counsel them to embrace change. And it was very difficult to convince 50 and 55-year-old men when I was 26. But how I did it, I bought into this. One thing that you need to do is be a very keen listener. I don't know how many of you all know, our Prime Minister is such a keen listener. I talk to business leaders who go and meet him. They say in a half an hour meeting, Mr. Modi listens for 20 minutes and speaks for 10 minutes. So I think this is what I did when I wanted to, embrace change and I wanted my people to embrace change. I gave them a chance. It's extremely important to build value-based relationships. And why I'm saying this is, you are a generation of mobile technology. And what I find constantly is in your 8 hours of life, you are on mobile for 6 hours. Life is not like that. You need to meet people. I'm completely against working online the whole day. Of course, online is an option. If you can't attend the program physically today, online is a great option, and I think COVID has taught us how to manage online. But online is not the solution for life. Can you imagine you get online married to a partner and you never meet him? So you need to see physical relationships are very, very important. And I think the value of relationship is something that every successful person will tell you. It's your mentors. I was talking to Mr. Shrinivas in the morning, and he says, how do you manage your day? I said, I'll talk to the students. I get up at 6:30. I have my tea. I read a little bit of the newspaper because that's an old habit. You guys read it on iPads. We read still on physical. It's nice to get a feel of the paper. And one thing that I do every single morning is spend an hour and a half in the gym. It's extremely important to have a fit body and a fit mind if you want to contribute productively in your personal and professional lives. I know that the younger generation is doing a great job in terms of going to gyms, working out, but those who are not doing it, please do it. It's very important for your health. It's very important for the fitness of your mind. It's very important for stress taking. I am telling you the kind of stress that is prevalent in work today, with so many uncertainties that we fight, whether it's, you have all sorts of crises today. You have climate crisis, you have inflation crisis, you have commodity crisis, you have geopolitical crisis. And how many crises are you going to tackle, or how many crises is the MBA course going to teach you? It is not that easy. So stress management becomes very, very important in your daily lives. And I would strongly urge you, you need not go to the gym, you can go for a run, you can go for a walk, you can do yoga, you can do meditation, whatever gives you. Again, it's your passion. But spend about 1 to 1.5 hours every day by yourself, because it gives you it keeps your body fit, and it gives you your mind for introspection before you start your day. I'll tell you one more thing, and you may think that this is an old school of thought. We Indians are used to working even till 10:30 and 11 o'clock at night with our mobiles. I asked Mr. Shrinivas in the morning, and he says he often gets mails at 11 o'clock and he has to reply to them. I don't think this is a good practice. You have to divide your day. And I remember the saying of our father of the nation, Mahatma Gandhi, you sleep for 8 hours, you work for 8 hours, and 8 hours is for yourself, for your family. Please practice that. I'm not telling you not to study late night. I know the pressures on MBA students and management students. But as you traverse the life path, make sure you give enough time to your family, enough time to yourself, and of course, enough time to your work and enough time to your health. These are most important. And God has given you 24 hours, you can plan it well. What I do, I'll tell you. When I work till 6:30, 7 o'clock in the office, but after 7, I switch off. I switch off completely. I have an emergency mobile, which only my wife and my secretary knows. So if my house is on fire, then they call, but they know when to call, because that time is really for yourself, for your reading, for your family, for your children. so that, you enrich your life. It's very important to have a work-life balance. And, to a large extent, the current generation is so stressed and so compressed of time that they're losing this. The other thing is knowledge. I think knowledge is really a beacon that has illuminated everyone's path. Never stop learning. And, however stupid you may feel, you can ask me a stupid question. Never keep it in your mind. You must always have a curious mind. You should drive your mind to endless possibilities. Now, today you may think that Chandrayaan has landed. 50 years back, we could never imagine, So your minds have to have endless possibilities. And, from those endless possibilities, then you filter down. And then you say, what is my passion? How do I want to pursue this journey? How do I want to execute this journey? So your core values, focus and passion. And in all this thing, I'm repeating again, money should not come in the way. I know all of us want to have a good lifestyle. We want to possess a lot of things. Nothing wrong in it. But if you define your career path by the amount of money that you're earning, I find a very unique trait, Mr. Shenoy, and I don't know whether you all are finding it in your companies. Youngsters don't want to stay in one more company for more than 3 to 5 years. You have not done it. Of course, I had no choice. I had to join a family business. But if you look at the older professionals and if you look at now, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong in changing jobs, but don't do it for the sake of money. I've seen a lot of people who do it. If I get 10% more, I'll shift in 2 years. Your learning phase is not complete. When you stick to a company, and of course, provided that they look after you, one thing is very important today is you have to look after your employees. Rather than saying, I'm going to cost cut on my employees, you have to say, I have to look after my employees. So it's extremely important for everyone to be looked after, for everyone. And for that, at least in the first few initial years of your life, you have to have a stable job where you keep on learning. As you mature in the job learning cycle, that's when you are ready to take a decision whether this job is for you or you want to switch. But please don't make money as the only criteria for this kind of a job. In conclusion, I would say that, my journey is far from over. Today we are, as Mr. Shenoy said, we are in 5 sectors. A large part of my job goes in planning for the future. I always look to, how will these companies be managed without my 2 daughters? I don't want them to face the same situation that I faced. But of course, there was a lot of good, rich legacy that my forefathers left behind. There was a lot of philanthropy. Today, one thing that you need to do is whatever you do in life, you have to remain connected to the community. So we run 5 institutions of higher education learning in Goa, which is purely a philanthropic initiative. We run football in Goa, which is again a philanthropic initiative. As Mr. Shenoy said, we have recently invested in a football academy where we have put 40 young boys at the age of 12. We look after their schooling, education, staying, and we want to make them the best footballers in the country. So it's more important to have a purpose in life, as I said, which just should not be bound with the kind of money you make. As I said, money will grow as far as you work hard in your relationships. Money is going to keep on growing. But at the end of the day, you must have this connect with community to see that, beyond money, there is some purpose in life. And there's so much we can do in this country. The other people, I heard once Dr. Kalam saying that CSR or funding or philanthropy cannot be only with money. Those who have money will give. But if you teach 3 kids of your maid and make them literate, that's the biggest CSR you can do. Be always community focused, be always community conscious. You must be full of gratitude that you can afford an MBA and you're doing an MBA. Millions of people in the country can't even afford basic education. Of course, the situation is changing. Of course, India is, every year there are lots of people who are getting out of poverty line and joining the middle class. But I think we have a long way to go, and I have hope, and after seeing you all, I feel the future is very bright, that we have very capable younger generation to lead the nation. I would like to give you, I heard Raghunath Mashilkar one day, and I actually jotted down what he said. He said, the way you should lead your life and can be fulfilling, one is read every day. And I said that earlier. Spend half an hour every day in reading, and it need not be management books. You can read on what you like, but it enriches you. Second is spend time with nature. I don't think we do it anymore. We see nature in virtual reality now, and I'm scared with your generation, because by next year you'll all have glasses, and you will say that if, I want to see the Niagara Falls, you will just, do some, this on your Apple phone, and you will see Niagara Falls, which will actually be like real. But in reality, you should spend time with nature. Ask a lot of questions, however stupid it may be. Don't hold yourself back with your curious mind, because then it kills curiosity. Never stop learning. You may be 80, you may be 85 tomorrow. Don't stop learning, because the world is changing, and so long as you keep abreast, talk to people, read, find out, and you are a lucky generation. You have Dr. Google, you have so many other, opportunities to say. One thing, don't pay much attention to what others say. Unless they are your friends, they are your mentors. I think we Indians spend too much of time on what others are saying. If you don't get 5 likes on Facebook, you are upset. We need to change ourselves. You need to live for yourself and do what you think is best for you. Also, do what interests you most. As I said, passion is something that really fuels every individual, whether it's a professional, whether it's an entrepreneur, whether it's a doctor, engineer, whatever interests you to do. And when it interests you, don't keep on dreaming, but also study hard. One thing is saying that, I want to be Dhirubhai Ambani. If you don't do anything about it, then, it's tough. You can't achieve, you can't have luck carrying you throughout. More you work hard, the more luck will come. This is how you say. Teach others what you know. It's extremely important. Never be selfish about knowledge. And as I said, the less privileged members of the society is something that you must devote your time to. Talk to them. I just got a call in the morning from the Commissioner of Disabilities in Goa. He said, Mr. Dempo, can you come and talk to the disabled people about employment opportunities and how they could see life? Unfortunately, I was in Calcutta, but this is how you spread knowledge and talk to the less privileged members of society. No problem if you make mistakes. Failures are there in every person's life. I don't know how many of you all sat on a bike the first time and fell. It teaches you a lesson. Every time you drive a bicycle for the first time, you have to, enjoy yourself, and if you have to fall down, there's a lesson to be learned there. Okay? And it's very okay not to learn, to know everything. Every individual has got its SWOT analysis. You got, I'm using the management term. You got your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. So it's absolutely important to realize that what is your potential and this. Last, I want to end by, quoting Mr. Harsh Mariwala. I don't know how many of you all have heard of Mr. Harsh Mariwala. He runs Marico. He is one Indian entrepreneur who could not even pursue his MBA, but today is giving Hindustan Lever, which is one of the largest consumer companies in the world. And he said, the start of any entrepreneurial journey is always challenging and enjoyable. Cherish both the ups and downs, because the start of your journey is usually when the learning curve is the steepest. So I think there's a lot of learning from here, that you will come across ups and downs in your life. Never ever get demotivated, discouraged, overcome fear, keep on pursuing your passions, keep on dreaming. And we can see many Dhirubhai Ambanis emerging from this very own hall. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Dempo, and can we have a big round of applause for Mr. Dempo? I must confess, having been in the corporate world for 3 decades, what you just heard was a crash course or a master class of 30 years of entrepreneurship, corporate nuances, wrapped up in a space of 30 minutes. I've taken out a few of the notes, and I'm sure we'll have it. Many of you would go back out of the room taking out 3 or 4 nuances for sure. Thank you, Mr. Dempo. I think it's been a fascinating insight into how one has to grow himself or herself in this world. We have about 30 minutes of time, and we've got about 8 questions the students are going to pose to you. If you could introduce yourself and a quick one line of introduction, and what is that you'd like to ask Mr. Dempo. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, sir. I am Aditi Jaiswal from Institute of Engineering and Management. Sir, my question to you is, being a leader in so many industries, how do you maintain a balance between the work and...
From my normal reading, I think reading enriches everyone's life, and I would strongly urge, apart from your normal management coursework and books that you'll read, you must read something that really interests you. And from that, a lot of ideas emerge. And the third is I devote a lot of time to fitness, because as you grow older, you need it even more. It's a very stressful life otherwise, because you need to balance work and you need to balance your holistic development of life. So this is how I try and, spend my 24 hours. Try and get adequate sleep. I know that, all of you all burn the midnight lamp during exams. That's okay, it's once in a while. But also try and get adequate sleep, because you don't realize it at a younger age. But as you cross your 50s, if you don't sleep well enough in your younger days, you pay for it. So these would be my simple fundas and lessons in life.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. I'm Shreya Singh from NSHM Knowledge Campus. So my question to you is, can you please share one instance from your career where you faced a major setback, and what are the key motivators which keeps you going regardless of all the hurdles?
So, I'll share one since you asked, but I had many setbacks in life. In my work life, when I joined, we used to run a pig iron project in Goa. And those days, we had a debt of about 100 crores. So, and as I said, my father passed away. I was saddled with this. The banks were after me. And I had a legacy to protect. It was not easy. As he said, the family has a name. It has a standing in society. And it's not good to default on something that is all taxpayers' money. It's all your money that the business people borrow and try and build a wealth for the nation. So how I approached it is, I was very honest. I think one thing that I forgot to mention in my speech is be honest up front. Honesty pays in the long run. I think shortcut methods pay in the short run, but they become very expensive in the long run. So I sat with my executives. I worked on a plan. I worked on a revival plan. I shed my ego because, I could have said, I'm Mr. Dempo and I will never sell this plant. And, I will try and see how I can make 2 ends meet. I was humble enough to admit that this was not my industry. I couldn't compete with the likes of Tatas. So I sat, with all humility, I worked out on a plan. I gave it to the banks. I was honest enough to say that so long as the banks are paid, I'm flexible on the price. And fortunately, then it was bought by another buyer, and then we worked it. So I think 2, 3 lessons that I learned. One is humility. One is, having less ego about yourself and being honest to yourself. This is what pays you in the long run.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. I am K. Pranit from Sister Nivedita University. My question is on AIMA as a significant role plays on management education. So how would you envision on future management education in India?
So, we were sharing yesterday, I met Calcutta Management Association. I've been very fortunate enough to, have the AIMA presidency with me for the last 1 year. And I'm going to lay down office next month. So this is going to be one of my last visits. AIMA generally is to promote thought leadership within management. And, the activity that we are doing right now is one of the, objectives of AIMA, that we really train future managers. And we give them flood of knowledge for them to absorb and then decide how they want to pursue the career of management. Of course, it's also to train management professionals industrialists, corporates. So this forms a part of the stakeholder eco-balance, that you have management students, you have companies, and you have professionals. So all in one forum so that, each one stands to gain from each other. What I see in the future is the MBA education is going to change substantially. With the digital intrusion, with so many uncertainties that I described in the speech, you may have to tweak on the MBA model. The traditional MBA model may not work in the future, and I'm hoping that many of the IIMs and many other MBA institutes are already, sort of embarking on this. And, I was trying to see, I'll try and see whether, I picked up something from McKinsey, which said, what are the top 10 skills required? And we have to really question ourselves whether our MBA schools really give these top 10 skills. So they said, this was in 2020, so of course not very old. They said the first skill that is required is complex problem solving. The second one is critical thinking. The third is creativity. The fourth is people management. The fifth is coordinating with others. The sixth is it's not IQ, but it's EQ, emotional intelligence. The seventh is judgment and decision making. The eighth is service orientation, which I talked about, community connect. Ninth is negotiation. And 10th is cognitive flexibility. So really, all of us should ask whether our MBA courses at the moment are developing the top skills, 10 skills amongst you all. Because this is how the world is going to change. It's already changing. And I think in India, probably the curriculum doesn't keep pace with the kind of changes that are happening. But I'm sure with now implementation of the new education policy that the Honorable Prime Minister has so passionately pursued, we are going to see substantial changes in the curriculum and how, more than rote learning, it has now to be more application-based. They are actually said in the latest circular that the exams will have to be made less difficult. Our examination system is very difficult. And that's why we resort to rote learning. You get so stressed about, every day life has to be an exam. I mean, and it need not be, burning the midnight lamp till 4 in the morning and then going and answering your paper. That's not how life works. So we need to change that system.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. I am Shreya Agarwal from Heritage Business School. My question to you is, could you please share your perspective on importance of collaboration and partnerships for growth and expansion?
I'll give you my story, which is a very interesting story, and I couldn't relate it. I had a business in food processing, and I'll tell you the value of relationship and collaboration. The food processing business was started as a contract manufacturing for Glaxo. Glaxo entered, heard of Glaxo, which is a very famous pharmaceutical company. They decided to enter the family products division in India, so we were very keen to collaborate with them because they are a multinational, Forbes Fortune 500 company. So the world chairman of Glaxo came, he inaugurated the plant in Goa, but their Indian experience was not very good. Farex didn't do well. They were eaten by Cerelac from Nestle, which is their competitor. And the plant started languishing. It started languishing, but we continued with losses and small turnover. It was a listed entity, so the market cap was languishing. It was not going anywhere. When I took over the group, I started saying that let's get rid of all these non-performing businesses, or let's value add, one of the two. So when I was doing that, and when I commissioned an investment banker, he got a very interesting boy who was that time probably in his mid-30s. And I was also in my mid-30s that time. He was a few years younger to me. And he said, Mr. Dempo, why don't you sell this plant to me? And it's doing baby foods, but I can value add and we can do so many things. So I said, why do you need the plant? He said, no, my father has just entered the contract manufacturing business. He's bought the Lakme business from Tata's, and he's then, Levers bought it from Tata's, and Levers then sold it to him for the contract manufacturing. Of course, they own the brand, but they sold the facility. So he said, Mr. Dempo, there's a lot of scope for increasing contract manufacturing in India. The space in the future looks to be 2 lakh crore opportunity. And all these big companies need reliable suppliers. So I met him twice, thrice, we had chats, we met for dinners, and I liked the guy. And this is a sheer amount of, little bit of luck, little bit of judgment, and little bit of shedding of your own ego, as I talked about. As luck would have it, I didn't sell the plant. I told him, let's get into a JV. I am a listed entity. You can create value in the future. You get your assets into this company. And, but he said, then you'll lose majority. I said, I don't mind. So long as I sail or sink with you, I'm fine, same or swing. So he went along. And this was in 2013. So you can imagine, from 2013, a 70 crore market cap company, today it's 6,500 crores. And from 2013, with a sales turnover of 50 crores, we are at 2,500 crores today. We are Hindustan Lever's largest contract manufacturers. More than 50% of our business. And how did I do this? I could not have done it. I was lucky enough to get a passionate partner. I shed my ego. I said, I'll collaborate. I'll get into a relationship. It can work both ways. You can be disappointed. But somewhere down the line, I thought he's sincere. I saw the spark in his eyes. I saw the youthful energy like I see in all of you all. And the rest was history. Today, I own 22% of the company, which is far higher in market cap than owning 70% of the company when the market cap was 60 crores. So I think building relationships, building people-to-people connect is very important for your future. But of course, you should be wise enough and vigilant enough to understand, and that will come with experience. I can also tell you a couple of bad experiences, which I don't want to waste your time, but collaboration and value relationships are very important.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, sir. My name is Karishma Singh. I'm from Heritage Business School. Sir, first I would like to say thank you for a wonderful and enriching session. Sir, my question to you is, how do you think an organization should approach talent acquisition and development to ensure a skilled workforce?
So I'll tell you what we are doing. This is one of the biggest challenges today. And one of the things that I'll tell all of you is leadership doesn't just get acquired. Leadership is cultivated, and the cultivation starts at the level that what you are saying. When you hire talent, today retention becomes a very, very difficult task. A is your generation now primarily looks for hefty increases in very short periods of time, and they lose interest very fast. They are very smart, by the way. They are 10 times smarter than Mr. Shenoy and me. Very smart, have phenomenal exposure, quick in learning, but these are some of the challenges that we are facing. So what we try and do is, during the interviewing process, we find whether the person that we take has a fit with our philosophy, and we do it through a guru. We have a lifetime coach that we have for senior management, so which we call as guru in Indian language. And we have now sort of identified 10 or 11 major key areas where we feel that as we grill the student or as we grill a first timer in the job, we find that they be a fit. We also ask, whenever guys like you come in for a job, we also ask, what's your purpose in life? And if your purpose in life is to own a BMW and get a Louis Vuitton bag, then, we don't subscribe to those views. Nothing wrong in it. It's great if you can afford everything, and, that's how wealth has to be built. But that can't be your purpose in life. Once all these thresholds are crossed, the second thing we spend is a lot of time in orientation. During an orientation time, youngsters like you get a feel of what the culture in the organization. We take you all to different plants, we take you all to different facilities, we ask you to talk to middle-level managers, senior-level managers. So, and then you start getting comfortable in that environment. Beyond that, we also follow the normal tools of retention, performance pay component. We also give a lot of importance to how you assign your time to the company. And when I'm saying time to the company, it's not only in productivity of the company, but if you take up any philanthropic activity that the group subscribes to, we also give a lot of value to it. So in nutshell, in one word, if I may say, we try to create a family culture within that organization. And I'm happy to say that not 100%, but we've achieved about 65 to 70% success in retaining talent this way. Because a lot of people then get identified with the group, they get identified with the culture within the group, they get identified within the vision and mission within the group. And if you are then subscribing to those views, and if you feel comfortable that you will, and one thing that we say, that nobody will stop your growth opportunity. So we have a system whereby even the junior most employee in the company, if he feels aggrieved, can reach the chairman of the board. There is a mechanism to do it. You can't come directly. There is a system to do it. But at the end of the day, you can reach me. Because there are cases where, you know, the seniors haven't been fair enough to the junior employee. And you know, something that I discovered in COVID, because during COVID lockdown, we had lots of time. So one thing that I did with great reluctance from the senior management is start interacting with the middle level managers. You know, they didn't like it, but I did it. And I said that I'll do it without your presence, because I want to get a feel for my future managers, how they are. And some of the brilliant ideas that came, again, which was not appreciated by the senior management, I imbibed and we implemented those changes. So this is how you create, then we created something called a chairman's club. So long as you perform well, the top 10% of the junior most employees get to be part of the chairman's club. And we meet once in 3 months, whereby none of the senior executive is present. It's only me, them, and my secretary to take down notes of the minutes of the meeting. So with this, you then tend to identify and you have a sense of fulfillment that probably I'll grow in this organization and I can identify myself with this organization even deeper.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. My name is Antara Bauri. I am from Sister Nivedita University, and I would request you to give 2 to 3 advice to this young generation for establishing a successful career.
I think my speech said it. One thing, never have fear in you. You know, be confident. You are fortunate enough to get formal education. Here, people without formal education have done. I don't know how many of you all know Zerodha. Zerodha is, you know, more than $1 billion valuation business. It's in stock trading. There's a guy from our community called Nitin Kamath. And I'm not by no way saying you please drop out from college, but he was a college dropout. And he had the courage to dream and he had no fear. And today his business is worth, you know, every year he generates 2,000 crores in profit. And his own salary is about 100 crores. So, you know, nothing stops one of you all, either on the stage or off the stage, from doing this. But you have to do 2 things. Within your parameters or within your boundaries, do not have any fear. If you strongly feel about an idea, keep pursuing it. However stupid it might feel. You know how Uber was born. I don't know whether you know how Uber was born. The owner of Uber was stuck in a very, very bad weather in Paris. Okay. And he was not finding a taxi for the last 40 minutes. And then suddenly it struck him that we have mobiles today. If I have an app, that time he didn't say it as an app, if I have some arrangement whereby I can connect with a taxi driver through a common forum, you know, I could get rid of all these uncertainties because I have to wait on the road and it's bad weather and nobody is coming to fetch me. Okay. And that's how Uber was born, and you know the valuation of Uber today. So I think the passion fueled by the ability to dream and then to sort of back it up with a lot of hard work, with a lot of mentorship. One thing it's very important in your life is to have 1 or 2 mentors in your life. Whoever you believe it. It can be your father, it can be your mother, it can be some professor from the college, it can be a person that you've met in the business fraternity. But extremely important to bounce off ideas to a person that you believe in. Okay. So these are some of the lessons that I have learned in my life. That if you don't have fear, if you have enough passion in you, if you demonstrate the courage to dream, and if you have surrounded with good people around you, I think you can make what Nitin Kamath made in Zerodha.
Thank you so much, sir.
Good morning, sir. Myself, Anurag Banerjee from Institute of Engineering Management. So my question is, who inspires you the most, or who is the role model of your life?
My grandfather.
Okay.
He was an uneducated person who dared to go to Japan and sell iron ore. Didn't know English when he went there. Not that many Japanese knew English, but imagine somebody who doesn't know English and who goes to Japan and tries to sell iron ore. The first lease that he took, there was no IRR calculation, ROI, return on investment. He just saw a mine. He had an engineer friend. He dug 2-3 holes and he encountered ore and he said, there is some ore here. So he went to the government and he says, let me have this lease. He paid the lease fees and the rest was history. I'm telling you this story, but what I inculcated from him is, one is hard work, one is discipline. You know, when he said 9 o'clock means he was there 5 to 9. Okay. And despite his limited education, the kind of hard work he did and his concern for community, you know. The colleges and the sports club was not built when CSR became mandatory. It was built, colleges were built 50 years back. Sports club is more than 50 years old. So responsible business and connect with the community is very important to meet with your own success. You imagine if you are in an island and the whole surrounding is desert. Would you be happy? So you have to make your surroundings as happy as you are. And that can happen only when, you know, you give access to opportunities, when you teach somebody anything, when you give them a job or you make them study to get a job. These are things that one has to, when you are fortunate enough to get formal education, you have to think in this fashion.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Good morning, sir. My name is Rahul Ghosh. I'm a student of NSHM Knowledge Campus. My question to you, sir, what role do you believe in innovation and technology plans to shape the future of India?
This is a scary question, and I'm trying to not scare you, but with new technologies coming in, with, you know, artificial intelligence, AR, VR, quantum computing, the world is going to be a very different place, you know. You can imagine, I don't know how many of you all know, Apple is going to sell, they've already come up with, they're going to sell glasses next year, where I can sit here, I can watch a movie on Netflix and also talk to you. Okay? So my worry is that the younger generation, and I'm talking about, not so much about you, but one generation younger, probably will never come into the real world. They'll only be in virtual world. Okay? They may also see their parents virtually and say that I don't want to come out of the glass and, you know, I can see them virtually somewhere. So that's one part. The second part is fundamental shift in the nature of jobs. You know, I'll give you a small example. I have a team, the secretarial department, which prepares the chairman's speech and data analysis for my listed company. I pulled a joke on them this time and I said, you know, this time the chairman's speech I'm going to write. So they were quite surprised that why would chairman waste his time on doing a chairman's speech? And I said, you make one and I'll make one and we'll compare and see what is good and we'll mix and match and we'll put. So I asked them, how much time do you need? So they said, sir, in a week's time we'll do it because it needs analysis. I said, fine. I went through ChatGPT, put all my parameters, Goa Carbon Limited, chairman's speech, please go through audit report, this, that, and it's all public knowledge. I got a speech in less than 3 minutes. So I called my company secretary and his team and I said, your chairman has done a speech in I didn't say 3 minutes, in 1 day when you're taking 8 days. They saw and they laughed because they knew it was ChatGPT knowledge. But what I'm trying to arrive at is if these jobs are going to be taken up like this, how does your generation think in the future? Innovation is going at such a rapid pace. You know, one is the cost of technology is coming down, you know. How many of you all could have afforded mobile phones 15 years back? Mobile phone was a luxury. You know, only the top CEOs used to go or, you know, wealthy parents. Today, even I was telling Mr. Shenoy, I was shocked where our, you know, digital payment mechanism has reached. I was at the Taj last week in Bombay. And, you know, normally near the India gate, there are beggars sitting there. And when they asked me for money, and, you know, I looked at my wallet, I didn't have money. And I said that, you know, sorry, mere paas paisa nahi hai, sir, GPay lete. So you can imagine the role of technology in this country is mind-boggling and phenomenal. And you know, every year or every month, forget about every year, there are lakhs and lakhs of people who are getting added onto this. Now, unless our business is shaped like this, you know, Mr. Shrinivas was asking me, what are we doing in our businesses? I said, I'm not happy with the pace, but the pace is going on. It's going on at a gradual pace. But I tell my people, if you slow down, you know, you have to look at the end of your business. You can't sustain a business without technology intrusion. Then there are other issues like cyber attacks, cyber security. You know, your competitors are constantly trying to hack your data. So there are up-team number of challenges, but these are also job opportunities for you. You know, that's why I say that the phenomenal pace at which it is going, an MBA will need to be rediscovered every 5 years. You know, it's not every 15 and 20 years, it has to be rediscovered every 5 years. God alone knows what are we going to see in 5 years. If we are seeing ChatGPT, whichever version that is coming now, I was told, and you know, I sit on the board of Carnegie Mellon, where I am an alumni from, and I'm saying that they are working on technology now, that if you want to see an ice cream on virtual reality, you will be able to feel and touch it and smell it. So I mean, what else does remain? I mean, you know, this is just phenomenal stuff that is happening. In a lot of ways, I feel you all are lucky, but don't get oversold on technology. You know, also meet human beings, also spend time with them. At some stage, you need to know where you have to cut from technology, because this whole, you know, I asked my daughters and they said, why don't you read? They said, no, we've heard it on Twitter. You know, Twitter gives 2 lines instead of 20 paragraphs that I read. So this is how, you know, technology is shaping our world. And I think all of us should be vigilant. We should not be overawed by this. You know, there is a lot of research going on to do it at much faster pace than it is being done today. So the generation has to be prepared.
Thank you very much, sir.
That's been a fascinating list of questions, and we have got a few minutes before we wrap it up. Any questions from the audience? So anybody would like to pose it? Yeah, I can see. Yeah, somebody can give a mic, please, sir.
Yeah, good morning, sir. So nice to hear the deliberation. This is Shomnath Chakraborty, Assistant Professor of Narela Institute of Technology of JS Group. So India is at a crossroad. We have become the most populous country in the world. On the other hand, the blessings of technology is looming large. So we are at the crossroad of the IoT-based technology. So what is the philosophy? So what is the future? So if you say the few words in this connection. So whether it will be the job displacing, labor displacing, because we can't deny the huge manpower. So what is the solution if you provide a few words? Thank you.
So I agree with you that, you know, it's going to be a challenging time. But where I differ from you is, what are companies doing to reskill and retrain their labor? What are the companies doing to retrain and reskill their employees? You know, I think a lot of work needs to be done. There are other areas today are emerging in terms of whether it's climate change, whether it's environmental, social and governance aspects, you know, whether it is to do with sustainability. I think a lot of people will be required in these areas. And if we can reskill our employees, retrain our employees, retrain our labor, you know, give them enough opportunities to learn more, I think we can change the landscape. Because in every industrial revolution which came, you know, when we were doing manual to machine, we thought that labor will go. But labor re-emerged. They were trained on those machines and they re-emerged. So I think the most important aspect is to realize that if we want efficiency in the system, and if we want our younger population to contribute productively to the GDP, because at the end of the day, if you're going to displace lots of people, you know, your GDP will not have the multiplier effect. You know, only Mr. Dempo cannot create GDP. It has to be created by all of us. So I think the key word here is retraining and reskilling. If we can educate our employees as to what's happening. So one thing that I have done is during our Founders Day, I always spend about 15 to 20 minutes talking to employees about latest technologies that are emerging in our fields, you know, in our sector. So that people are sensitive to this. If they want to do something about it, they come back to me. Said, sir, can I go for a management training course? Can I do this? Will you subsidize 50% of my fees? So we have started doing all that. So I think it's very, very important to realize where we are going, and I fully agree with you that the changes taking place are going to be very rapid. But the advantage is everybody is looking to India. You know, I don't know how many of you all know that probably, you know, what China is going through right now is going to be a systemic risk, because China is infusing a lot of liquidity into the system, but it's not creating demand. So that's a huge problem that China is having. And which is the next country that you have? It's India. And India is today minuscule of China. So I'm just saying minuscule because see the potential. You know, we may be India's second largest mobile phone producers. We may be India's third largest, world's third largest automobile producers. We may be the second largest steel producers in the world. But you know the difference. India is 200 million, China is 1 billion. So we have to go 7, 6, 8 times of the volumes. So this China plus 1 is really going to be an opportunity for India, provided, as he says, we are conscious of the fact what changes are taking place in technology, what changes are taking place in nature of jobs, and it is our responsibility as government, as industry, as AIMA, as stakeholders, to see that the younger generation is trained in a manner that they will get productive jobs in the future.
We can slip in one question. We are running out of time.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Good morning, sir. I'm Shodhip Banerjee. Sir, currently I'm also working with virtual reality and generative AI. I have a startup. So, what do you think, sir, as per virtual reality for student education, training, and for the corporate world training, how it can help the students as well the corporate world's employees to grow and cut the time?
First of all, congratulations. I love people who have startups. I think they have a lot of energy and enthusiasm in them. And I wish you all the best for, you know, growing your business. It's a great area to be in and very promising area. Your question on, you know, employee training and, you know, school training, I fully agree with you that virtual reality can really augment this. And I am saying why. Though I believe in people-to-people touch and I believe in physical meetings, it so happens sometimes that the best resource is far beyond your means. You know, whether it's in cost to get him here down, you know, to speak to him physically, or, you know, whether when he comes here physically, he will charge you an X amount. So today you can dream of getting the best resource in the world if you have the right connects through the virtual reality or through, you know, through the model. So I personally feel with new techniques, with new technologies that are emerging, you can be far more creative in VR. You know, when you are doing a lesson, instead of a physical lesson, or instead of a more traditional way of teaching, if you apply virtual reality, it makes it more interesting. You can be much more creative and innovative. So I think as far as education goes, and as far as training goes, AR, VR will have an amazing, amazing future. And I would strongly urge you to do more work in this. And I'm sure, you know, there'll be enough potential for your business to build on it.
Thank you. I'm sorry we can't take any more questions, while I do see a lot of hands raised. As we wrap it up, and Mr. Dempo, thank you very much for a wonderful session which we have had. And for all of those who are connected here physically as well as online, let me quickly summarize what we heard for you. I think you all have got a significant advantage over all the rest of the people who are not been able to have it. And let me quickly wrap up the 10 lessons of Mr. Dempo, what we have heard today. We have heard the power of passion and ability for one to chase your passion beyond your dreams and make a big difference to it. Learning from failures is important, not to fail, but to fail fast, and more importantly, get up and run. Overcoming fear, I have been terrified many a time before to take up an assignment. Even at this age and level which we are always small little fear lurking behind us, whether it will work or not. Believe me, I think you all should go. You know, they say you walk like a king and you're treated like a prince. You walk like a beggar and you're treated like one. You definitely walk like a king or a princess and you'll be treated like one. Embrace change. Rajnikant, there's a famous thing, you know, when he was when the conductor, all he used to do was change. That was when he was a bus conductor and went on to be a hero, right? Embracing change is wonderful. Being a keen listener, I don't think many of us are good listeners. We want to hear ourselves speak, pause for a second, hear somebody out. I think it's a wonderful way to do. What we heard was amazing to see. Keep a fit mind, but more importantly, keep a fit body. Fantastic leaders. I've seen most of the leaders on the top, other marathoners or chasing a kind of fitness regime. Important to do it well. Balance your time well. More than sure of the 8 hours, not easy to do, but try to ensure that how we're able to get the best out of it. Never stop learning. I think that's one wonderful one. More importantly, don't chase money, chase your passion. I think money will come. And I can tell you for sure, while I've been with one company for almost 3 decades, maybe if you look back and see many of our other colleagues who are there, maybe you're a little tad better than them. Perhaps you would have chased your money, passion well. Finally, I think it's all about giving back to the society more than what you got for it. Let me bring a perspective to each one of you here. Just the fact that you are sitting here in this room, you are much better off than 99.5% of India, right? You all have to be grateful to your parents, grateful to the society, grateful to the government for what brought you here. It's important that when you leave this room or get onto your corporate careers, you have to give back to the society. I think that is something which goes without passion. I see a lot of similarities between the Dempo group and the Tata group, where the founders say, give back more to the society. The stakeholders, I think the quote was, stakeholder is not another just stakeholder, but the very purpose of our existence. I think that was something fantastic. What I can encapsulate in all of this, and having heard Mr. Dempo today and had a session yesterday with him as well, is leaders are steeped in humility. Having met plenty of leaders in different corporate world, what we have seen, Mr. Dempo, I think, no doubt the group is in safe hands. The ability for a leader to be humble, to be full of humility is what takes any institution forward. And for all you, the leaders here, I think we heard 10 beautiful lessons in your career. I promise you this. You just have to adopt some of these philosophies, and some of you, if not all of you, when we come back and meet you 10 years down the line, you say, that day made a little difference and sparked a thought in my mind, which will kind of shape your career. Good luck, and hope you all have a sparkling career ahead. Thank you, Mr. Dempo. I think for wonderful.
Thanks for that. I just want to give a final, my favorite quote, which conveys a lot. And I would urge all the young minds to listen to this carefully. This is about the current world. It says, data is the new gold. Sitting is the new smoking. Health is the new wealth. Failure is the new success. Today's 60 is yesterday's 40. Traveling is the new reading. Religion is the new politics. Social media is the new opium. Exercise is the new wonder drug. And education is the new global currency. So I just thought that this would be fairly useful.
Thank you. On this note, we wrap it up and give a big round of applause to Mr. Dempo, please.
Thank you for sharing your thoughts with us. Now may I request Mr. TVS Shrinivas to present a memento to Mr. Shrinivas Dempo. Thank you, sir. I request Professor R.C. Bhattacharya to present a memento to Mr. TVS Shrinivas for chairing the session.